My mother-in-law just claimed ownership of my $4.8 million beach house. I'm Josephine Drexler, and after 15 years of being called a gold digger by my husband's family, I finally bought my dream home in Malibu. The call came at 8 p.m. on my first night there. Eleanor's voice dripped with entitlement. "We're moving in tomorrow. Marcus said it's fine. If you don't like it, you can find somewhere else." My hands shook as I gripped the phone, but I kept my voice steady. After everything I'd sacrificed, after building my career while being treated like a servant at every family gathering, this was my breaking point. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Let me tell you how I turned her entitlement into her biggest humiliation. October 3rd marked my liberation day. After 15 years of 80-hour weeks at Technova Industries, I submitted my resignation letter to the board. The looks on their faces when they saw the severance package they'd have to honor, $2.3 million in deferred bonuses, plus vested stock options worth another million, almost made those years of being undervalued worth it. "Are you sure about this, Josephine?" asked the CFO, suddenly realizing what they were losing. "Your digital transformation strategy saved us $40 million last quarter alone." I smiled politely. After 15 years of 80-hour weeks, I deserve this. What I didn't tell them, or anyone, was that I'd already signed an 18-month consulting contract with a Fortune 500 company for $8.5 million. Victoria Sterling, CEO of Meridian Global, and my mentor for the past decade, had been courting me for years. The moment she heard I was leaving Technova, she made an offer that reflected my true value. The irony wasn't lost on me. My mother-in-law Eleanor had spent every family dinner for 15 years telling everyone how I was just a secretary playing dress-up, and that real Drexler women don't need to work. She'd made me serve appetizers at her charity events while introducing me as Marcus's wife, who has a little job downtown. Meanwhile, I'd been restructuring multi-billion-dollar operations, and my expertise was worth more than Eleanor's entire real estate portfolio. But I'd learned long ago that defending myself to her was pointless. Marcus would just sit there, silent as always, while his mother diminished everything I'd accomplished. That was about to change. I just didn't know how dramatically when I walked out of Technova's glass towers for the last time, my banker already processing the wire transfer for my new beginning. The Malibu property took my breath away the moment I saw it. 4 bedrooms, floor-to-ceiling windows facing the Pacific, and a private beach access that made every sunrise feel like a personal gift. At $4.8 million, it was the most expensive thing I'd ever bought. But I paid cash through my newly formed company, Drexler Consulting LLC. "Congratulations, Ms. Drexler," said my real estate attorney, David Chen Williams, as we signed the papers on October 10th. "The property deed is registered under your LLC with very specific occupancy clauses. Only the registered owner and explicitly invited guests are permitted residents. Any unauthorized occupancy constitutes criminal trespass." "Perfect," I said, signing my name with a fountain pen Victoria had given me. "I want everything ironclad." The LLC structure wasn't just about taxes, it was about protection. After years of Eleanor treating everything Marcus owned as communal family property, I needed boundaries that couldn't be crossed. The operating agreement specified that I held 100% ownership with no spousal claims possible under California law. I hadn't told Marcus about the house yet. We'd been living increasingly separate lives, him at his mother's beck and call, me building an empire he barely noticed. He knew I'd resigned and assumed I'd be taking a few weeks off before finding another little job, as his mother would say. The seller, a tech executive relocating to Singapore, had installed a state-of-the-art security system with biometric locks and cameras covering every entrance. "The privacy here is absolute," he assured me. "That's why I bought it, and why I'm sure you'll love it." As I stood on the deck that first evening, watching the sun melt into the ocean, I felt something I hadn't experienced in 15 years. Peace. Tomorrow, the moving trucks would arrive with my carefully selected belongings. I had no idea Eleanor was already planning her invasion. The humiliation started at our wedding reception. Eleanor stood up during toasts and announced, "Welcome to the Drexler family, though I hope you understand that real Drexler women don't need to work. We have estates, not offices." For 15 years, that set the tone. At every family gathering, I was the outsider who couldn't just be satisfied with Marcus's success. Never mind that Marcus's commercial real estate business barely broke even most years, while my salary and bonuses paid our mortgage. Christmas 2019 was particularly brutal. Eleanor hosted 40 guests and assigned me to kitchen duty, since you're so good at taking orders at work. While her friends sipped champagne in the parlor, I plated appetizers and refilled drinks. Marcus found me crying in the pantry and said, "Just humor her, Joe. It's easier." The pattern never changed. Eleanor would introduce me as Marcus's wife who insists on working, while her country club friends exchanged knowing looks. She'd accidentally schedule family events during my important presentations. She once told my boss's wife at a charity gala that I was playing career woman until Marcus and I had children. What Eleanor never knew was that Victoria Sterling had been watching my career since 2018. Every time Eleanor diminished me publicly, Victoria was offering me bigger projects, better contracts, more recognition. The Fortune 500 consulting contract I'd just signed included a clause specifically stating that I was to be credited as lead strategic consultant in all public communications. Victoria's way of ensuring my value couldn't be hidden anymore. "Your mother-in-law is a fool," Victoria told me over lunch last month. "Her loss is corporate America's gain." But knowing my worth and claiming it publicly were two different things. Until now, I'd chosen peace over confrontation. That was about to change. The email from Victoria Sterling arrived on September 15th, marked Confidential, Board Approved. "Josephine, the board has unanimously approved our offer. $8.5 million for 18 months of exclusive strategic consulting, plus performance bonuses up to $2 million. Your digital transformation framework will be implemented across all Meridian Global subsidiaries. Contract begins November 1st. This makes you the highest paid consultant in our company's history. Your expertise is worth every penny of that $8.5 million. I read it 3 times before it sank in. This wasn't just validation. It was vindication. The contract specified that I would be publicly announced as Meridian's chief strategy consultant at major corporate events, with full credit for all implementations. No more hiding in the shadows. The scope was massive, restructuring operations for a company with 50,000 employees across 12 countries. My methodology, developed over 15 years of being underestimated, would finally get the recognition it deserved. The contract even included a dedicated team of 40 analysts and a 7-figure implementation budget. Victoria had added a personal note. "I've watched Eleanor Drexler dismiss you at 3 charity galas. I want you to know that when we announce this partnership, the entire business community will know your true value. The California Real Estate Association Gala on October 20th would be the perfect venue. I'm the keynote speaker." I saved the email in 3 places and forwarded a copy to my attorney. This wasn't just about money. It was about finally being seen for who I really was. Every time Eleanor had called me a gold digger, or Marcus had stayed silent during her insults, I'd channeled that pain into building something undeniable. The best part? The contract was already signed and legally binding. Nothing Eleanor or Marcus could say or do would change what was about to happen. October 11th, I hired Whitmore Luxury Relocations to handle my move. "We need absolute discretion," I told them. "No social media posts, no public schedules." "Understood, Ms. Drexler. We handle celebrity moves regularly. Your privacy is guaranteed." I spent 3 days carefully selecting what would come to Malibu. My office setup was priority. A custom desk positioned to overlook the ocean, 3 monitors for analyzing market data, and a secure server for Meridian's confidential files. This wasn't just a beach house. It was my command center for an $8.5 million contract. The master bedroom would be my sanctuary. I chose the linens myself. Italian cotton in ocean blues and whites, nothing from the house I'd shared with Marcus. The walk-in closet would hold my new wardrobe, purchased specifically for the CEO meetings and board presentations in my future. No more hiding my success under Eleanor's prescribed, appropriate wife aesthetic. I scheduled 2 weeks of complete rest before the Meridian contract began. 14 days to walk the beach, read without interruption, and remember who I was before 15 years of being diminished. My calendar was blocked, my phone on Do Not Disturb, my location shared with no one. For the first time in 15 years, I felt free, I wrote in my journal that night. Marcus hadn't even noticed I'd been gone for 3 days, touring properties and signing papers. He was at his mother's, planning her charity gala table arrangements. I'd stopped telling him my whereabouts months ago when I realized he never actually listened. The movers were scheduled for October 12th at dawn. By sunset, I'd be in my new home, starting my new life. I'd tell Marcus eventually, when I was ready, on my terms. I should have known Eleanor would find out first. Eleanor had always been invasive, but I underestimated her determination. On October 11th, while I was selecting furniture for Malibu, she was in Marcus's home office, accessing his email. She found the bank alert first, a large wire transfer notification from our joint account to mine, sent when I'd moved my portion of our savings. From there, she traced the property purchase confirmation the bank had mistakenly copied to Marcus's email. I have my ways of finding out everything, she'd always bragged at family dinners. Now she proved it. Eleanor called the real estate broker, impersonating me. "This is Josephine Drexler. I need to confirm the new property address for the insurance company." The junior assistant, not knowing any better, provided the full Malibu address and even mentioned the October 12th move-in date. Armed with this information, Eleanor did what she did best: spun a narrative. She called her daughter Sarah, her sister Margaret, 3 cousins, and 4 of her country club friends. By evening, the story was set. Marcus had bought his mother a beach house as an early Christmas gift, and ungrateful Josephine was trying to claim it as hers. "Can you believe her audacity?" Eleanor told anyone who'd listen. "After everything our family has done for her, she's trying to steal the house Marcus bought for me." She even posted on her private Facebook group, "So blessed, my wonderful son just surprised me with a Malibu beach house. Some people, unnamed but we all know who, are trying to cause drama, but family always wins." 43 likes and 17 congratulations comments later, Eleanor had established her version of reality. In her mind, the house was already hers. Marcus, oblivious as always, was still at his office, unaware his mother had just lit a fuse that would explode everything. The call came at 8 p.m. on October 12th, my first night in paradise. I was on the deck watching moonlight dance on the waves when my phone shattered the peace. "Josephine," Eleanor's voice had that particular tone, sweet poison mixed with authority. "I wanted to let you know we're moving in tomorrow. Marcus said it's fine." I felt my body go cold. "Excuse me?" "The Malibu house. Don't play dumb. I know Marcus bought it, and he's already agreed I can have the master suite. I'm bringing my decorator at 9 a.m. In the background, I heard Marcus's voice, weak and distant. "Mom, I didn't—" "Quiet, Marcus. I'm handling this." Eleanor's breathing got sharper. "If you don't like it, you can find somewhere else. This is a Drexler property now. Act accordingly." My hands shook, but 15 years of boardroom battles had taught me to keep my voice steady. "I see." "Good. Make sure the place is presentable. I've invited the charity committee for lunch tomorrow to see my new house. Don't embarrass the family." She hung up before I could respond. I stood there, phone in hand, staring at the ocean. The rage I'd suppressed for 15 years threatened to explode, but then something else took over. Cold, calculated clarity. I opened my laptop and pulled up the property deed, the LLC documents, the occupancy clauses. Then I called David Chen Williams. "David, it's Josephine. I need you to prepare cease and desist letters immediately. And contact Whitmore Security. I want guards at the property by 6 a.m. Trespassing situation? About to be. But David? I smiled for the first time since the call. I'll prepare something special for their arrival. This time, Eleanor had overplayed her hand. I sat alone on the deck until midnight, the ocean my only witness to 15 years of suppressed rage finally breaking free. Every insult, every dismissal, every time Marcus chose silence over defending me, it all crystallized into perfect clarity. "This is my line in the sand," I said aloud to the waves. My phone buzzed with texts from Eleanor's network. Sarah. "Mom says you're being difficult about the house again." Margaret. "Just give Eleanor what she wants. You know how she gets." Even Marcus's weak attempt. "Can we talk about this tomorrow?" No. No more talks. No more compromise. No more being the family doormat. I called David Chen Williams back. "David, I need more than cease and desist letters. Pull everything, the LLC structure, the occupancy clauses, my full ownership documentation. And I want to know something. If someone claims ownership of a property that isn't theirs to secure a loan, what kind of fraud is that?" "Federal crime, potentially. Wire fraud if they use electronic communications." "Why?" "Just curious. Also, can you get me the security footage from the property from tonight? I want Eleanor's threats on record." Already downloading it to our secure server. After hanging up, I discovered something that changed everything. A notification from my bank. "Unusual activity alert. Inquiry on property located at my Malibu address for collateral verification." Eleanor hadn't just announced she was moving in. She'd already tried to use my house as collateral for something. The timestamp showed 4 p.m., 4 hours before she called me. "I'm done being the family doormat," I whispered to the ocean. Tomorrow, Eleanor would arrive expecting submission. Instead, she'd find something she'd never encountered before. A Drexler woman who fought back with facts, law, and 15 years of suppressed power. If you've ever been disrespected by family who thinks they own you, hit that like button. I'm curious. What would you do if your in-laws tried to steal your dream home? Comment below with your thoughts. And if you want to hear how I legally destroyed their entitlement at a charity gala with 800 witnesses, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. David arrived at 7 a.m. with a briefcase full of ammunition. "The law is very clear about trespassing, Mrs. Drexler," he said, spreading documents across my dining table. "Your LLC owns this property outright. Only you, as the sole member, can authorize occupancy." The property deed was beautiful in its simplicity. Drexler Consulting LLC, 100% owned by Josephine Marie Drexler. No community property claims, no spousal rights, no ambiguity. "What about this loan inquiry?" I showed him the bank alert. His expression darkened. "If Eleanor represented herself as the owner or authorized party, that's fraud. If she forged any signatures..." He pulled out his phone. "I'm calling a colleague who specializes in financial crimes." While David made calls, I reviewed our security protocols. Whitmore Security had stationed 2 guards at the gate with explicit instructions. No one enters without written authorization from me personally. The biometric locks meant even if Eleanor somehow got past the gates, she couldn't access the house. "Josephine," David returned, looking grim. My colleague ran a quick check. "Eleanor applied for a $500,000 home equity line of credit yesterday, listing this address. The application is under review, but she signed documents claiming to be the owner." "That's impossible. The deed is under my LLC." "She might have forged your signature or claimed to be acting as your agent. Either way, it's federal fraud. The bank will need to be notified immediately." I felt a strange calm settle over me. Eleanor had just handed me the nuclear option. "Document everything. Create a file with every piece of evidence. And David? Find out when the California Real Estate Association Gala is." "October 20th, why?" "Because that's where this ends. Publicly. Permanently." Eleanor wanted my house. Instead, she'd just given me the power to destroy everything she valued most. Her reputation. The call from Wells Fargo came at 10 a.m., just as Eleanor's Mercedes was pulling up to my gate. Ms. Drexler, this is James Morrison from the Fraud Prevention Department. We need to verify a loan application for $500,000 using your Malibu property as collateral. I never applied for any loan, I said, watching Eleanor argue with my security guards on the camera feed. Ma'am, we have an application submitted yesterday at our Beverly Hills branch. The signature? Well, our analysis suggests potential forgery. The applicant claimed to be the property owner. Send me everything immediately. My attorney, David Chen Williams, needs to see this. I gave him David's contact information. And Mr. Morrison, the person who submitted that application is at my gate right now trying to break in. Ma'am, forging signatures on loan documents is a federal crime. We're obligated to report this to the FBI. On my security monitor, Eleanor was now screaming at the guards, waving papers in their faces. Behind her, a moving truck waited, along with 3 women I recognized from her charity committee. David's phone buzzed with the bank's email. He opened the attachments, and we both stared at the evidence. Eleanor had signed my name on 5 different documents, claiming sole ownership of the property. The bank's security footage, attached to the email, showed her clearly at the desk, pen in hand. This is incredibly stupid, David said. She did this in full view of cameras, with witnesses, leaving a paper trail. It's like she thought rules don't apply to her. They never have before, I replied, watching Eleanor call the police on my security guards. She's always gotten what she wanted through bullying and manipulation. Not this time. This is wire fraud, forgery, and attempted grand theft. She's looking at federal charges. By 11 a.m., the scene at my gate looked like a circus. Eleanor had arrived with a full moving truck, 3 assistants, her decorator, and 4 members of her charity committee, all expecting a grand tour of Eleanor's new beach house. I'm calling my lawyer about this harassment, Eleanor screamed at my security guard, who remained professionally unmoved. Ma'am, this is private property. Without written authorization from the owner, you cannot enter, the guard repeated calmly. I am the owner. My son bought this house. I watched it all from my office, recording everything through the security system. David sat beside me, taking notes. Eleanor tried everything. She claimed to have keys. She didn't. She said she'd left personal items inside. Impossible. She even tried to scale the fence until the guard informed her that would be criminal trespass on camera. The charity committee ladies began to look uncomfortable. Patricia Worthington, the committee chair, approached Eleanor. Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding, Eleanor snapped, is my daughter-in-law's delusion that she has any say in Drexler family properties. Then she made her biggest mistake. In full view of the cameras and witnesses, Eleanor pulled out a crowbar from the moving truck and approached the gate lock. The guard immediately called 911. We have an attempted breaking and entering in progress at 2847 Pacific Coast Highway. Eleanor's face went white as she heard sirens approaching. The moving truck driver, apparently smarter than his client, immediately started backing away. The charity committee scattered to their cars. Mrs. Drexler, the guard said calmly, I suggest you step away from the gate before the police arrive. But Eleanor, in her entitled rage, kept trying to break the lock, screaming, This is my house! My son bought it for me! The police arrived just as the lock broke. While the police were taking Eleanor's statement at my gate, she was simultaneously destroying herself on social media. Her Facebook post at 11:47 a.m. read, Unbelievable. At my new Malibu beach house and my ungrateful daughter-in-law has locked me out. Marcus bought this for me and she's trying to steal it. The police are here now to sort this out. Everyone, please share this injustice. Within an hour, she'd tagged over 200 people from the California social elite. The comments started supportive, but quickly turned skeptical as Patricia Worthington posted, Eleanor, the police just confirmed you don't own this property. This is embarrassing. Undeterred, Eleanor went live on Instagram. I'm here at what should be the Drexler family beach house, and you won't believe what's happening. She streamed for 12 minutes, showing the police, the security guards, and her failed attempt to enter, all while claiming ownership. Then she made the announcement that would seal her fate. Don't worry, everyone. At the California Real Estate Association Gala next week, where I'm a gold sponsor, I'll be announcing the truth about this property and my ungrateful daughter-in-law's schemes. Everyone who matters will be there. She'd also called Coastal Living magazine. I need to cancel the photo shoot for the Drexler Beach House feature. There's been a temporary delay, but we'll reschedule after the gala. The editor, confused, responded publicly on Twitter. We have no record of a Drexler Beach House feature. Our October issue features Josephine Drexler's stunning Malibu property. The shoot is still scheduled. Eleanor's narrative was crumbling publicly, but she doubled down. Wait until everyone sees our new Malibu estate, she kept posting, even as the police escorted her off my property. She had no idea she'd just announced her own public execution. David pulled up the California Real Estate Association gala details on his laptop. October 20th, 8 days away, the Ritz-Carlton, Los Angeles. Black tie, 800 guests, live-streamed on their website. Eleanor Drexler, gold sponsor at $50,000. The gala where reputations are made, or destroyed, I murmured, remembering Eleanor's own words from last year. The attendee list read like a who's who of California elite. Tech CEOs, real estate moguls, political figures, and most importantly, Victoria Sterling, CEO of Meridian Global, listed as the keynote speaker. This is perfect, David said. Eleanor just announced to everyone that she'll be revealing the truth at this gala. She's created her own stage for humiliation. I called Victoria. Did you see Eleanor's social media meltdown? Everyone has. Josephine, I was already planning to announce your consulting contract during my keynote. Would you like me to be more specific about certain details? Actually, I have a better idea. Can you ensure I'm seated at the head table? Consider it done. And Josephine, I'll have 3 board members there who can verify your contract details if needed. The gala's theme, ironically, was Integrity in Real Estate, Building Trust in Modern Markets. Eleanor would be recognized for her gold sponsorship during the ceremony, given 3 minutes to speak about her contribution to the real estate community. I pulled up the event contract. Gold sponsors were bound by a morality clause. Any criminal activity or fraud could result in immediate revocation of sponsorship and lifetime ban from association events. David, make sure the bank fraud investigation file is ready by October 20th. The FBI will have processed the initial report by then. Perfect! Eleanor wants to reveal the truth at the gala? I smiled. Let's make sure she gets her wish. Over the next 3 days, my strategic pieces fell into place with precision. Victoria Sterling called a special board meeting. I need 3 of you at the California Gala to verify Josephine Drexler's contract details if questioned. All 3 board members, including the CFO of a Fortune 100 company, volunteered immediately. Josephine deserves recognition for her true worth, Victoria told them. We're not just announcing a consultant, we're introducing the architect of Meridian's next decade of growth. James Morrison from Wells Fargo sent a formal affidavit. We can confirm attempted fraud in the amount of $500,000 using property located at 2847 Pacific Coast Highway, Malibu. The legitimate owner, Josephine Drexler, through Drexler Consulting LLC, was not involved in this application. Evidence has been submitted to federal authorities. My real estate broker, horrified that Eleanor had impersonated me, provided a sworn statement. Eleanor Drexler has no ownership claim to said property. She obtained the address through misrepresentation to my staff. Even Marcus's business partners started calling David. We heard about Eleanor's behavior. If you need character witnesses regarding Josephine's professional reputation versus Eleanor's pattern of deception, we're available. The most surprising ally came from Patricia Worthington, chair of Eleanor's own charity committee. Josephine, I've watched Eleanor bully you for years. I have recordings from 3 committee meetings where she claimed credit for donations you made anonymously. Would those help? Send everything to David, I said. By October 17th, I had 15 affidavits, 3 hours of recorded evidence, and a federal fraud case number. Eleanor, meanwhile, kept posting on social media about her beach house and the truth she'd reveal at the gala. Marcus finally texted, Mom's lost her mind. She won't listen to me. I didn't respond. He'd had 15 years to make her listen. That time was over. October 20th arrived with perfect California weather. The Ritz-Carlton ballroom gleamed with crystal chandeliers and gold accents. Eleanor arrived at 6 p.m. in a $30,000 Oscar de la Renta gown, holding court near the entrance. The Drexler name means excellence in real estate, I heard her telling a group of investors. Wait until you see our newest Malibu acquisition. I'll be sharing details during my speech tonight. I arrived at 6:45 in a simple black Armani dress that Victoria had insisted on buying me. Understated power, she'd said. Let Eleanor be the peacock. The moment Eleanor saw me, her face contorted. What is she doing here? Oh, Eleanor, I said calmly, walking past her toward the head table. Didn't you know I'm the keynote speaker's special guest? Marcus stood frozen beside his mother, his face pale. He'd figured out something was wrong, but hadn't connected the dots yet. Eleanor grabbed his arm. This is a setup. She's trying to embarrass the family. Mother, maybe we should— No. I'm a gold sponsor. This is my night. The ballroom filled quickly. 800 of California's most influential people, plus a live stream audience that would eventually reach 50,000. Eleanor made sure everyone knew about her new beach house, even showing photos she'd screenshot from the real estate listing. At 7:30, the ceremony began. The association president took the stage. Tonight, we celebrate integrity in real estate. We'll begin by recognizing our gold sponsors, whose generous contributions make our work possible. Eleanor preened in her seat, adjusting her diamond necklace. She had no idea that 3 FBI agents were watching the live stream, waiting to see if she'd repeat her fraudulent claims publicly. Victoria Sterling caught my eye from across the room and nodded. The show was about to begin. Please welcome our gold sponsor, Eleanor Drexler. Eleanor glided to the stage like she owned it, basking in the applause. The massive LED screens displayed her name in golden letters. She took the microphone with practiced ease. Thank you all for this incredible honor. The Drexler name means excellence in real estate. She paused for effect. For 40 years, my late husband built an empire, and now that legacy continues through strategic acquisitions. She turned to the screen behind her, where photos of various properties appeared, including our newest acquisition in Malibu, a stunning beachfront estate that represents everything the Drexler family stands for. The audience murmured appreciatively. Several people took photos. I'd like to personally invite everyone here to our housewarming next month, Eleanor continued, her voice dripping with false generosity. Because real estate isn't just about properties, it's about community, family, and knowing your place in the world. That last line was directed at me. I remained perfectly still at the head table. Some people, Eleanor's eyes found mine, think they can buy their way into our world, but class, true class, is inherited, not purchased. Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Even he could feel the venom in his mother's words. The association president returned to the microphone. Thank you, Mrs. Drexler. And now, please welcome our keynote speaker, Victoria Sterling, CEO of Meridian Global. Victoria walked past Eleanor, who was still soaking in applause. They crossed paths at center stage, and Victoria whispered something that made Eleanor's smile falter for just a second. Good evening, Victoria began, her commanding presence immediately silencing the room. Tonight, I want to talk about value. Real value, not inherited privilege, but earned expertise that transforms industries. Eleanor was still on stage, frozen, as Victoria looked directly at her. Let me tell you about someone who embodies that value. Are you ready for this moment of truth? If you've been waiting for Eleanor to get what she deserves, smash that subscribe button right now. This next part is where 15 years of humiliation gets flipped in front of 800 witnesses. And trust me, the security footage of her face is priceless. Drop a comment. What do you think is about to happen? Let's see if you can guess before I reveal it. Victoria's voice carried absolute authority. I'd like to recognize our newest strategic consultant, whose expertise has already revolutionized 3 Fortune 500 companies. The LED screen behind her changed. My professional headshot appeared, along with a title that made the room gasp. Josephine Drexler, Chief Strategic Consultant, Meridian Global, contract value $8.5 million. Her expertise is transforming Fortune 500 companies, Victoria continued. Her digital transformation framework saved Technova $40 million in 1 quarter. Her strategic vision will guide Meridian Global through the next decade of growth. Eleanor stood frozen on stage, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The cameras caught every second of her shock. Josephine, Victoria looked directly at me. Would you join me on stage? I rose from the head table and walked past Eleanor, who hadn't moved from her spot. The audience erupted in applause, genuine recognition from people who understood what an $8.5 million contract meant. This contract, Victoria announced, represents the highest consulting fee in Meridian's history. Because true value cannot be hidden or diminished, no matter how hard some might try. Marcus had gone completely white. His phone was buzzing frantically, probably his business partners realizing his wife was worth more than his entire company. Eleanor finally found her voice, but the microphone was still on. That's impossible, she's nobody. The entire ballroom heard it. The live stream audience heard it. The FBI agents monitoring the feed heard it. Victoria smiled coldly. Mrs. Eleanor Drexler, I believe you were saying something about knowing one's place in the world? The association president approached Eleanor. Ma'am, please return to your seat. But Eleanor couldn't move. She was watching her entire worldview crumble on stage in front of everyone who mattered to her. Victoria wasn't finished. Speaking of value, Josephine recently made a significant real estate investment, a stunning $4.8 million property in Malibu. The screen changed again. The property deed appeared in full detail. Owner, Drexler Consulting LLC, sole member, Josephine Marie Drexler. That's her house, not yours, Mrs. Drexler, someone called out from the audience. The voice belonged to Patricia Worthington, Eleanor's own charity committee chair. Victoria continued, her voice cutting through the murmurs. This property, purchased entirely with Josephine's own funds, has been the subject of some confusion. Let me be clear, Josephine Drexler is the sole legal owner. No other Drexler has any claim to this property. Eleanor tried to leave the stage, but her path was blocked by 2 security guards who had quietly appeared. There seems to be a misunderstanding, Eleanor said desperately into the still live microphone. My son Marcus purchased— No, he didn't. A new voice came from the audience. James Morrison from Wells Fargo stood up. Ms. Josephine Drexler paid cash through her LLC. We have all the documentation. In fact, Mrs. Eleanor Drexler, we need to discuss your recent loan application regarding this property. The ballroom went silent. 800 people leaned forward. Eleanor's face went from red to white. I don't know what you're talking about. The $500,000 home equity loan you applied for yesterday? Using a property you don't own as collateral? That loan application with forged signatures? Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones came out. The live stream comments exploded. Ma'am, one of the security guards said quietly, we need you to remain here. Law enforcement is on the way. Marcus finally stood up. Mom, what did you do? But everyone already knew. Eleanor Drexler had just confessed to fraud in front of 800 witnesses and a live stream audience of thousands. James Morrison walked to the stage with a folder. With the property owner's permission, I'd like to share something with this assembly. I nodded. Please, show everyone. The LED screen displayed security footage from Wells Fargo Beverly Hills. Crystal clear video showed Eleanor at a desk, signing documents. The timestamp read, October 11th, 2024, 4:12 p.m. This is Mrs. Eleanor Drexler forging signatures on a $500,000 loan application, Morrison announced. She claimed ownership of 2847 Pacific Coast Highway, Malibu. This property belongs to Josephine Drexler. The next slide showed the forged signatures compared to my real signature. Even from the back of the ballroom, the forgery was obvious. The FBI has been notified, Morrison continued. Forging signatures for $500,000 is a federal offense, punishable by up to 30 years in prison. Eleanor grabbed the microphone. She owes me. I raised her husband. That money is rightfully mine. The entire ballroom heard her confession. The live stream captured every word. Comments flooded in. #fraudstermother. In-law was trending within minutes. Victoria took the microphone back. I believe that's called admission of guilt, Mrs. Drexler. Two uniformed police officers entered the ballroom. The association president looked mortified. Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for this disruption. No apology needed, called out Thomas Chen, a prominent real estate developer. This is the most integrity I've seen at one of these galas in years. Finally, someone facing consequences for their actions. The crowd murmured agreement. Several people started clapping, not for Eleanor, but for justice being served. Eleanor looked around wildly. This is a setup! Marcus, tell them! Marcus stood up slowly. Mom, you forged signatures. You committed fraud, on camera, after harassing my wife for 15 years. His voice broke. I'm done enabling you. Eleanor's composure shattered completely. She grabbed the microphone from Victoria, her voice shrill and desperate. I had every right to that house. She's nobody, just a gold digger who tricked my son. I built the Drexler name. Me. The live stream viewer count hit 50,000. Comments poured in faster than anyone could read. Eleanor Drexler meltdown started trending on Twitter. You all know me, Eleanor screamed at the audience. I've donated millions. I've been on every charity board. This little secretary thinks she can humiliate me? That little secretary, Victoria said calmly, taking back the microphone, has generated more value for the economy than you've ever inherited. And unlike you, she earned every penny. Eleanor turned on Marcus. You pathetic excuse for a son. You let her poison you against your own mother. Your father would be ashamed. Marcus finally found his spine. Dad would be ashamed of you, Mom. He built his business on integrity. You just destroyed everything he stood for in front of everyone who matters. The police officers stepped forward. Ma'am, we need you to come with us. Don't touch me. I'm Eleanor Drexler. I own half of Beverly Hills. No. Patricia Worthington stood up. You own nothing but debt and delusion. The charity committee voted unanimously tonight. You're removed from all positions, effective immediately. The association president added, Your gold sponsorship is revoked. You're permanently banned from all association events. Eleanor looked around the ballroom, at the horrified faces, the recording phones, the police waiting to arrest her. The empire she'd built on intimidation and lies had collapsed in less than 10 minutes. This isn't over, she screamed as the officers escorted her out. You'll all regret this. But we wouldn't, and she knew it. As the police led Eleanor away, I finally took the microphone. The ballroom fell silent, 800 pairs of eyes on me. I have a choice to make, I said, my voice steady and clear. I can press full charges for fraud, forgery, and attempted theft, or I can offer a settlement. Eleanor stopped struggling, hope flickering in her eyes. But first, I continued, a public apology is required, here, now, to everyone you've deceived. The officers brought Eleanor back to the stage. She looked broken, her $30,000 gown wrinkled, her carefully styled hair disheveled. She started, then stopped. The microphone caught her shaky breathing. 15 years of disrespect ends tonight, I said quietly. But the microphone carried my words to everyone. Eleanor looked at the crowd, at the cameras, at her son who wouldn't meet her eyes. I apologize. I lied about owning the beach house. I forged signatures. Her voice cracked. I was wrong. And? I prompted. And Josephine Drexler is the rightful owner. She earned everything she has. The words seemed to physically pain her, but she said them. On stage. On live stream. On record. Now, I addressed the room. You all witnessed the truth. Eleanor Drexler spent 15 years calling me a gold digger, a nobody, a secretary playing dress-up. Tonight, you saw who really earned their place and who simply inherited privilege and squandered it. I turned to the officers. She'll receive settlement terms tomorrow. If she violates them, full prosecution proceeds. As I left the stage, the ballroom erupted in applause. Not polite charity gala applause, but genuine recognition. Victoria hugged me. Marcus sat alone at his table, finally understanding the magnitude of what he'd allowed to happen. Eleanor was led away in handcuffs, her empire of intimidation reduced to rubble. The next morning, consequences crashed down like dominoes. Wells Fargo's fraud department called at 8 a.m. The $500,000 loan has been canceled. Mrs. Eleanor Drexler's accounts are frozen pending federal investigation. Her assets cannot be moved without court approval. The California Real Estate Commission was next. Mrs. Drexler's real estate license is under emergency suspension. Given the public nature of the fraud, permanent revocation is likely. David Chen Williams arrived at my beach house with a stack of documents. The FBI wants to know if you're pressing charges. You have significant leverage here. Your gold sponsor status has been revoked, Mrs. Drexler, the association president had announced publicly. But that was just the beginning. Eleanor's country club called Marcus. Your mother's membership has been terminated. The board voted unanimously. We cannot have members who commit federal fraud. 3 charity boards sent formal letters of removal. Her social calendar, 40 years of carefully cultivated connections, evaporated overnight. The live stream video had been downloaded over 100,000 times. News outlets picked up the story. Beverly Hills socialite commits fraud, exposed at charity gala. The footage of her confession played on local news, social media, everywhere. Marcus texted me. Mom's lawyer says she's looking at 5 to 10 years if convicted. She's begging for your settlement offer, Patricia Worthington called. The charity committee is returning all of Eleanor's donations from the last year. We discovered she'd been claiming tax deductions for donations you made anonymously. That's additional fraud. By noon, Eleanor Drexler had lost her real estate license, her country club membership, every board position, her social standing, access to her accounts, her freedom, pending trial. The woman who'd spent 15 years calling me nobody had become nobody herself, and everyone was watching it happen. Within 24 hours, the video had 2 million views across platforms. Hatch Eleanor Drexler fraud and #fraudster mother. In-law dominated social media. The footage of her screaming, "She's nobody," became a meme. TMZ ran the headline. Mother-in-law from hell commits $500K fraud, gets arrested at charity gala. The story went national by evening. My phone buzzed constantly with messages of support. Women who'd endured similar treatment from in-laws shared their stories. Finally, one of them faced consequences, became a rallying cry. The real estate community completely severed ties with Eleanor. Thomas Chen told reporters, "The Drexler name is toxic now, the wrong Drexler." Josephine Drexler, however, represents everything right about our industry. Local news interviewed Patricia Worthington. We discovered Eleanor had been taking credit for anonymous donations made by her daughter-in-law. She built her entire reputation on lies. Marcus's business partners started calling me directly. "We had no idea what you were dealing with. If you ever need anything, we're here." 3 offered to testify about Eleanor's pattern of deception if needed. The security footage from my beach house gate, Eleanor with a crowbar screaming about ownership, surfaced online. Another 1,000,000 views. Another wave of public humiliation. Victoria Sterling gave an interview to Forbes. Josephine Drexler exemplifies quiet strength. While others postured, she built real value. Her expertise is worth every penny of that 8.5 million. Even Eleanor's former friends distanced themselves. Margaret, her own sister, posted, "I've watched Eleanor bully Josephine for years. I should have spoken up sooner. I'm ashamed I didn't." By day 3, Eleanor Drexler had become synonymous with entitled fraud. Google searches of her name returned pages of articles about the gala disaster. The woman who'd lived for social status had achieved infamy instead. Marcus showed up at the beach house 3 days after the gala, looking like he'd aged 5 years. "I should have stood up for my wife years ago," he said, standing at my door. "Every time Mom humiliated you, I chose the easy path. I was a coward." For the first time in our marriage, he was taking responsibility without being prompted. "The family's turning against her," he continued. "Sarah says she's done enabling Mom. Even Aunt Margaret filed a restraining order after Mom threatened her for betraying the family." The family attorney had called Marcus with stark advice. Distance yourself completely from Eleanor's legal troubles. Her fraud could destroy what's left of your father's legitimate legacy. "We're revising the entire estate plan," Marcus said. "Mom's being written out completely. Dad would have been horrified by what she did." His siblings, who'd always stayed neutral, finally chose sides. Sarah texted me, "I'm sorry it took this long. We all knew Mom was cruel to you. We should have defended you." Marcus had started therapy. "The therapist says I have severe codependency issues with Mom. I enabled her narcissistic behavior my whole life." He paused. "I'm learning how much damage I caused by staying silent." The extended family group chat, usually Eleanor's domain, had gone quiet before exploding with condemnation. Cousins who'd witnessed years of Eleanor's behavior finally spoke up. "We all saw how she treated Josephine. We're complicit for not intervening." The Drexler family reunion, scheduled for December, was canceled. "We need time to heal from Eleanor's toxicity," the organizer announced. Marcus looked at me with genuine remorse. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know, I finally see what I put you through, and I'm going to spend whatever time you give me making it right." My public vindication triggered an unexpected professional explosion. Within 72 hours of the gala, my business phone wouldn't stop ringing. 3 Fortune 500 CEOs reached out personally. "Anyone who can maintain that composure while being publicly attacked has the leadership we need," one said, offering a $3 million consulting project. Harvard Business School called. "We'd like you to speak at our Women in Leadership Summit. Your story of overcoming workplace and family discrimination while building an empire is exactly what our students need to hear." A major publisher offered a 7-figure book deal. Breaking Corporate Ceilings, A Guide to Claiming Your Worth, would chronicle my journey from being dismissed as just a secretary to commanding $15,000 per day consulting fees. Forbes featured me in their Women to Watch issue. The article opened, "While her mother-in-law called her nobody, Josephine Drexler was quietly revolutionizing digital transformation strategies for Fortune 500 companies." My new rate structure reflected my true value, $15,000 per day, with a 3-month minimum commitment. No one balked. If anything, the high price point attracted more serious clients. Victoria Sterling made sure everyone knew my worth. "Josephine's methodology saved us $60 million in the first quarter alone. She's not expensive, she's invaluable." LinkedIn exploded with connection requests from CEOs, board members, and industry leaders. My follower count went from 5,000 to 500,000 in a week. Every post about authentic leadership and setting boundaries went viral. The girl Eleanor had forced to serve appetizers at charity events was now being invited to keynote those same gatherings. The San Francisco Business Alliance offered me their Woman of the Year award, presented at the same venue where Eleanor had once made me work coat check. "Your value was always there," Victoria told me. "Now everyone sees it." David Chen Williams presented Eleanor with my settlement terms in the federal detention center where she awaited arraignment. "These terms are non-negotiable and expire in 24 hours, I'd instructed him. The requirements were clear. Immediate repayment of the $500,000 fraudulent loan attempt, a permanent restraining order, maintaining 500 feet distance from my property, a full-page written apology in the Los Angeles Times and Wall Street Journal, mandatory completion of 200 hours of therapy for narcissistic personality disorder, agreement to never contact me, directly or indirectly, without legal counsel present. If she violates any term, David explained to her, full federal prosecution proceeds. You're looking at 10 to 15 years minimum. Eleanor's attorney reviewed the terms. This is generous considering the evidence. My client could face 30 years if convicted on all charges. Eleanor signed with shaking hands. The woman who'd never apologized for anything would now do so in 2 major newspapers. The published apology ran 3 days later. I, Eleanor Drexler, publicly apologize to Josephine Drexler for 15 years of harassment, defamation, and most recently, criminal fraud. I forged documents and lied about property ownership. Josephine earned every dollar of her success through legitimate expertise, while I inherited wealth and squandered respect. I am solely responsible for my criminal actions and the destruction of my reputation. The restraining order was filed immediately. GPS monitoring would ensure Eleanor never came near my beach house or any property I owned. The therapy requirement was court-mandated and monitored. Her therapist would report monthly on her progress in addressing her narcissistic behaviors. These boundaries are permanent, I told Marcus. Your mother will never have power over me again. He nodded. They should have been set 15 years ago. Marcus and I sat in our therapist's office, the ocean visible through the window. It was our first couples counseling session, something I'd suggested for years, but he'd always dismissed. I love you, but I'll never be disrespected again, I told him clearly. That's non-negotiable. Dr. Martinez facilitated the difficult conversation. Marcus had to confront 15 years of enabling his mother's abuse. You chose comfort over courage every single time, she told him. Your wife needed a partner, not another burden. We established new terms for our marriage. Complete financial separation until trust was rebuilt. Marcus would cut all financial ties with his mother, weekly couples therapy for at least 1 year, monthly check-ins about boundaries and respect, a post-nuptial agreement protecting my assets and business. I'm willing to work on us, I said, but you need to understand. I don't need you anymore. If I stay, it's because I choose to, not because I have to. Marcus agreed to everything. For the first time, he was seeing a therapist individually, too. I'm learning how toxic my family dynamic was. I was trained from birth to prioritize my mother's feelings over everyone else's, including my own. The post-nuptial agreement was comprehensive. My business, my beach house, and all future earnings remained solely mine. Marcus had his own assets, his own responsibilities. We were partners by choice, not financial necessity. Can you forgive me? He asked during our 3rd session. Forgiveness is a process, not a moment, Dr. Martinez said. Josephine needs to see sustained change, not just promises. Marcus nodded. I'll earn it, however long it takes. For the first time in our marriage, he was doing the work instead of expecting me to carry the emotional load alone. I stood in my Malibu home office, drafting the new house rules that would govern my sanctuary. David Chen Williams reviewed them for legal enforceability. My home, my rules, permanently, I said, signing the document. The rules were non-negotiable. All visitors required my explicit written approval, no exceptions. Biometric security system with individual access codes I controlled. Every guest must sign a liability waiver and privacy agreement. No family visits without 48-hour notice and confirmed appointment. My office remained completely off-limits to everyone except approved clients. The security company installed additional measures, motion sensors, reinforced locks, and a panic room that doubled as a secure conference space for sensitive client calls. Even Marcus needs permission? The security consultant asked. Especially Marcus. He gets a guest code that I can revoke any time. I created a visitor log system. Every person entering my property was documented. Time in, time out, purpose of visit. The charity committee ladies who'd witnessed Eleanor's meltdown understood completely when they came for tea. "You're protecting your peace," Patricia Worthington said approvingly. "After what you endured, these boundaries are minimal." My home office became my fortress of productivity. Client consultations happened on my terms, in my space, with my rules. The ocean view reminded me daily that I'd earned this peace. Marcus visited twice a week for dinner, by appointment. He never assumed he could stay over. He never brought anyone without asking first. He was learning that respect meant following rules, not expecting exceptions. The beach house featured in Architectural Digest's December issue included a quote from me. "This home represents boundaries made beautiful. Every security measure, every rule, every locked door is a celebration of self-respect." Eleanor would never cross this threshold again. That wasn't cruelty. It was freedom. April sunshine streamed through my office windows as I reviewed Drexler Consulting LLC's quarterly report. Revenue, $12 million. Profit margin, 78%. Client retention, 100%. Respect isn't negotiable. It's mandatory. I told a reporter from Fortune magazine who'd come to profile my remarkable ascent. Eleanor had completed her court-ordered therapy. Her therapist reported significant progress in acknowledging narcissistic patterns, though change came slowly for someone who'd spent 60 years believing rules didn't apply to her. Marcus had transformed. 6 months of intensive therapy had revealed the depth of his codependency. He now actively supported me publicly, telling anyone who'd listen about my expertise and value. At a recent tech conference, he introduced himself as Josephine Drexler's husband, a complete reversal from years of me being Marcus's wife. The beach house had been featured in 3 magazines. Each article mentioned the security measures as necessary boundaries after a highly publicized incident of attempted property fraud. Eleanor's crime had become a cautionary tale in real estate circles. My first quarterly payment from Meridian Global hit my account, $1.4 million after taxes. I celebrated by funding 3 scholarships for women in business, administered through Victoria's Foundation. The family dynamics had permanently shifted. Sarah visited monthly, always with 48-hour notice. She'd started her own therapy to address growing up with a narcissistic mother. "You showed us it was possible to break free," she told me. Even Eleanor's former flying monkeys had reformed. Margaret sent a monthly text checking in, respecting my boundaries while showing genuine care. The woman who'd tried to steal my house was now living in a modest apartment, her assets liquidated to pay legal fees and settlements. The woman she'd called Nobody was running a multi-million-dollar empire from that same beach house. Justice, served with receipts. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, forwarded through David's office. Eleanor's handwriting, once imperious, now looked fragile. "Oh, Josephine, I've completed my therapy program. For the first time in my life, I understand what I did to you. It wasn't about you. It was about my jealousy. You achieved everything through merit, while I inherited everything and achieved nothing. I was terrified you'd expose me as the fraud I was, so I tried to destroy you first. I'm sorry. Genuinely sorry. Not for getting caught, but for the pain I caused. Eleanor." I read it twice, then filed it away. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting boundaries. My response, sent through lawyers, was brief. Acknowledged. The restraining order remains. Boundaries are permanent. I wish you well in your journey. The scholarship I'd established was named after my grandmother, Rose Martinez, who'd cleaned houses to put me through college. Not a Drexler scholarship. That name meant nothing to me now. The first recipient was a young woman whose mother-in-law had sabotaged her small business. "Your story saved me," she wrote. "I learned that family toxicity doesn't deserve family loyalty." Marcus and I had found a new equilibrium. Not the marriage we'd had, but something more honest. He'd sold his struggling real estate business and started fresh in sustainable development, free from his mother's shadow. He earned his own success now. At the one-year anniversary gala of Eleanor's downfall, Victoria raised a toast. To Josephine Drexler, who showed us that dignity isn't about never falling. It's about rising with evidence, boundaries, and unshakable self-worth. I stood on my deck that night, waves crashing below, finally at peace. The house Eleanor had tried to steal had become my sanctuary. The life she'd tried to diminish had become extraordinary. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting boundaries. Sometimes, the greatest kindness is teaching someone that actions have consequences. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more stories about standing up to family bullies. Comment below. Have you ever had to set hard boundaries with in-laws? How did it go? Your story might help someone else find their courage. And remember, your worth isn't determined by anyone else's opinion, especially not toxic family members. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear that message. Thank you for watching, and remember, you deserve respect in your own home.